All right, so we are going to talk today about Star Wars, all things Star Wars, and answer some questions that I often get in terms of what sort of paper should I use? What sort of embellishment should I use? Where do you find this stuff? What if I can't find it? Because a lot of times there are paper lines like my Creative Imaginations where they used to make tons and tons and tons of Star Wars paper, and then they lost or gave up all their licensing rights. They had Harry Potter, they had Justice League, they had tons of places, and they just let them go. And I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but when they were going out of business, and I want to say 2011, I bought everything I possibly could in the store because I was living in Canada still. I don't know why, because I'd only been to Star Tours like once, but I bought all the paper. And thank goodness I did, because fast forward and Star Wars is like my entire life. So sometimes you can find papers that are specific to Star Wars and they make life easier. So, here's the regular piece and here's the foil piece. And if you're absolutely destitute, I might be willing to share, but like some of them are nice and they're kind of open, but some of them are very specifically patterned. And, there's not a lot of times that you're going to be able to use Vader and Luke fighting. So that's okay, though, because sometimes you can cover things up. So if you see a piece of paper and you like the vast majority of it, do something and cover it up. Like, it's the versatility is there if you take a moment. And the scrolling, it really doesn't matter. Now, the question I get sometimes is, do you worry about the trilogies? So everything in Rise, for instance, is all 7, 8, 9, whereas a lot of the stuff that's made is for 4, 5, and 6, because 4, 5, and 6 was the first trilogy. Everyone loves it. And so, are you going to be concerned with that? And that's a personal choice. I've kind of played it a little bit fast and loose in terms of, like, it'll say Imperial Domination on my layout instead of, the Rise. Or, here's the scrolling and it says Skywalker. For me, in a case like this, it doesn't matter, because this is why the Rise photos came to be, right? It's preserving the history, but also the future or the current, right? So again, if you want to be really sticky about it, there are times when I am, and there are times when I'm not. So that's a personal choice. There are some company lines, like this is scrapbookcustoms.com, and you can still get this paper. And actually, this is the backside of the same sheet. This is still on scrapbook.com. I actually just put in another order for this paper. This was my latest order. And it has really nice images of Millennium Falcon and the Death Star and the X-Wings. And it also has lightsabers. So this is a good one for current Star Wars, right? Because you've got the Millennium Falcon on Smuggler's Run, but you also got an allusion to some of the other things that you're doing on Smuggler's Run with the TIE fighters. They're not exactly the same now with the First Order as they were before, but close enough. And you could cut out, like if you were putting a sheet of paper, you could cut out some of these little Falcons and use them as embellishments too. I've done that a lot with the lightsaber. If you're going to go make your own lightsaber, there's your sheet of paper. I've also gone in and cut out little lightsabers to put on a line down the side of the paper. You could cross them. You could do lots of things. So the lightsabers are pretty much universal. A paper like this. So this is Reminisces Space Wars. Now this is an older one. You might be able to still find it, but they have great images of, like here, again, you could cover some of that up so it's not so, like, how cool is that, right? When you're taking off in Star Tours. But on the back, you've also got this great image of going into warp speed. Again, Smuggler's Run. You could use it for Rise even because of the black and white. You could use it for Star Tours because you go into warp speed. There's lots of variety in some of these papers. And you can see where I've cut some out. Now, here's some more creative imaginations. I just pulled my whole stack here, but there's lots of papers from Cricut too. So here's one from Cricut. Again, Cricut, the ones that they have, a lot of them are very geared towards the first trilogy. So, you know, you've got the Vader, you've got, you know, Boba Fett, you've got Ewoks, but some of them are pretty generic. So here's like little tiny X-Wings, which you see in the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge because these aren't specific to the first movie with Red Leader. Here's the Millennium Falcon. Here's a bunch of tiny little Falcons. This one is a very vintage pack, and it's a little bit harder to work with, but you've still got the oranges, you've got the blacks, you've got the blues, that you can use a piece of this with brown tones, blue tones. I use some of this for Oga's Cantina because Oga's is so orange and red and green and blue. Even Star Tours, like when you first get in there, there's lots of blues and oranges and yellows, and it works. And if it's a sheet you're never going to use for Star Wars, like there it is on the back, but you could use this for anything, right? This is Runaway Railway. This is Halloweenish. You could use a lot of these papers for other things. So when they're on sale with Joann's, take a peek, take a look. Ask others in the group who've used them. So that's kind of the vintagey one, but there's ones that have like bright tones and like images. And again, it says A New Hope, but like, do you care? It's up to you. For the most part, it's such a small amount, and if you're putting a bunch of stuff on the page anyway, you're not going to see it. And if it bugs you, then just use a strip. But some of these are kind of cool too. So Ewoks, outside Star Tours and Disney World, you've got that whole indoor scene. So you could totally use this as a sheet of paper. Even though it's not in Star Tours, it's outside Star Tours. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of shoehorn it and make it work. This is one of my favorite ones because it's so, yes, it's the characters, but it's so distressed and vintage looking that it would still work. And again, you know, we don't have stormtroopers, they're first order troopers. But again, if you're concerned about that, then you can kind of change that up and make it work. You could do something funny where you like cross this out or paint that, and put first order as your title. Like there's lots of ways that you can have fun with it. But some of them are pretty, like that isn't the perfect logo for the first order anymore, but you could still use that as part of the Rise because of the Rebel logo. You know, there's just lots of great Solo. Smuggler's Run, right? Who is attached to the Millennium Falcon? Solo. You think of Solo all the time. And he's in the new movies, so that works. He's younger here. Same thing with Luke Skywalker. Again, he's younger here, but you could totally use that as part of that, of the scrapbook. And some of them are a little bit cutesier. So, you know, you've got Yoda here. Here's the three. Here's Chewie. So I actually did use this sheet of paper and I cut some out when Tom, Drew, and I went on the ride together, and I called it Three Amigos because you've got the three of them. So then I made a whole page based on this sheet of paper on Smuggler's Run. You know, there's some more Ewoks. There's Chewbacca. You know, you've got R2-D2, and you've got the, you know, bounty hunters. So again, there's BB-8. He's in the new movies. And actually on the back, you've got a whole sheet of BB-8. So sometimes you can make it work, right? So even if you're doing a page about BB-8 or Droid Depot, these are all droids. So you don't necessarily have to be super literal. And sometimes I struggle with that too. And I'm like, well, this isn't exact, but make it work for you. So you're at the Droid Depot, you could use a sheet of paper like this. These are all droids, okay? A lot of the times what you want to look at is the colors, because sometimes the colors of these things are a little bit wonky. So, you know, there's lots of yellow tones in here, lots of blue. You don't necessarily want to use something exact. And that's, you know, we all know that as scrapbookers. Here's one that is very specific. A lot of it is Vader. And again, look, clearance at Joann's. I just grab them when I see them because, you know, you never know. Here's like images from the movie. You could use this as the background. Again, it's the history. Here's all the characters. Here they are in brown. I love this sheet of paper. It's just the Death Star. You know, here's the Death Star. And there's an AT-AT. What's outside Star Tours in Disney World? An AT-AT. So you could totally make this work for you. Again, here's the logos. Even if it's not, that actually doesn't look too bad. Okay. So color composition is a big piece of this. And again, you know, sometimes finding ones that are exact to Star Wars is going to be a little bit hard, just simply because a lot of places don't do them and they don't have the licensing. So anytime you're looking for licensed products, whether it be Lego or Harry Potter or Universal is almost impossible to find stuff. Because it's all about the licensing. Now, sometimes you can find embellishments, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Sometimes ones are very specific. So here is paper that I bought, again, from Creative Imaginations before it went out. This is all Clone Wars. This is all animated series Clone Wars. And super cool. Loved the show, but, yeah. There's nothing Clone Wars. So at Star Wars weekends, there were like Asajj Ventress and Rex and Cody were there. You could probably get away with it now with Ahsoka. Here's Ahsoka on the page. So you could do, I could use this paper if we saw Ahsoka and met her. But some of them are a little specific and I struggle with them because they're so specific. And that's why, like, there's Asajj Ventress, but I already scrapbooked that. So, you know, there's Grievous. Again, I could use this for something if I was covering a bunch of it, because otherwise it's a little more difficult. This one I actually used the orange side because it's the troopers on the other side. And I actually didn't even use it for troopers. I used it for Rise, but I liked the orange. So, you know, if you look closely, you can see it, but, you know, again, it's up to you. A page like C-3PO or R2-D2, well, you know, those are pretty timeless. Same thing with anything like Yoda. Sometimes papers have images on the back, but sometimes they just have words. So, you know, the green words here, again, it's set for the other movies, but you can still use it. There was the Space Wars, which I wasn't sure if I was going to get it, but I liked some of them because they're so sneaky. So they say Space Wars here, but then there's Star and there's Wars there. Clearly not infringement. And we'll talk about that, but, you know, dark side, and there's enough here that I would use it. There's some lightsabers. Now, Susan, you said earlier about Basic Gray. Basic Gray is amazing. And it's so sad that they went out of business. This is actually the cat and dog line. So I pulled this because I don't have a cat or a dog. I have had this for ages, but look at how great some of these vintage, like, colorings are, right? So I know Basic Gray isn't around anymore, but when you're looking at papers, there's lots of vintage lines or vintage textures that will work. Okay, this could work for Ogas. You know, you could play around with it. You know, here's another. This is the Oliver. Oh no, this is Max and Whisker still. But there's lots of colors in these papers that would work fantastic for things that you're doing for Star Wars. Okay?
And Pyrus. The collection called Pyrus?
Yeah.
That one has a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Even some of the newer papers, like this is paper that I bought for Patriotic. And again, you know, if you were doing Vader, you could use that. But, you know, Star Tours has a lot of blue. So even some of that, and it's a star. And you could paint it, you could mix media, you could do a lot of things with it to make it not patriotic. Now, something like this, clearly, you know, patriotic. But, you know, you could shoehorn it in there a little bit. At the end of, I forget which one it is, but there's like fireworks and they're all in Endor and they're all happy, right? So you could, you know, shoehorn it in that way. But sometimes the B-sides work. So take a look at colors. Because sometimes you could make those work as well, even if they're not outright Star Wars papers. And, you know, if it push comes to shove, wrapping paper. Now, is it acid-free? No. Is it going to destroy my photos in my lifetime? No. Do I care? No. You know, I don't have anybody that I'm going to be leaving these to. They're going to get thrown out as soon as I die. So I really don't care if, you know, it ruins a little corner of my photo. But what I do with my wrapping paper is I often cut out like a chunk and then I put adhesive on the back and I stick it to cardstock. That makes it nice and firm. And then I will fussy cut around it and then it is a embellishment. So I saved this specifically for this Vader, but then also Yoda and R2 as well. So, you know, what's a roll of wrapping paper? $1, $2? So that can give you some nice embellishments as well. Lots of times, if you have Star Wars papers, I do mix and match them with other papers I have. So I have, and I don't know where I got this, but I have a random sheet with like Kylo Ren stuff on it. And I bought one. Like, why wouldn't I buy a million of these? But I have been like cutting out the little images and really savoring this piece of paper. As you can tell, I only have a strip left, but mixing it in with other papers that you have really helps your Star Wars paper go far. So if you have some and you're afraid to use it because you don't want to waste it, use just a little piece of it. Cut out a little chunk, you know, cut a circle out of it and have that as an embellishment cluster. Use other papers that match that really help you extend the life of your Star Wars paper. And this was in a pad of paper. I don't even know who it's from. Has a bit of foil. When you think Star Wars, I would think silvers, because stars and a lot of the gray tones, silver works really, really well with Star Wars. You know, here's a Stormtrooper piece of paper, but I can pair it with these other sheets, and this is like fancy pants paper, and this I think was in a Die Cuts with a View. You know, it can extend the life of your papers by just cutting a strip, right? You can do a lot of pages when you're only cutting a strip of Stormtrooper helmets. Oh, here's another little chunk of that Kylo paper. Oh, and here's a little, you can see where I cut things out. A little piece of the C-3PO paper. This is from Hobby Lobby. Okay, it's quite thin. It's a little cheap, but backing it with some cardstock, you've got the nice vintage colors, you've got the scratchy look, and you've got the stars. So anytime when in doubt, use stars, because stars always look good with Star Wars, right? It's Star Wars. So, you know, those match quite well and can extend that paper. I did the one layout where I actually used this old glitz paper. Like, I don't even know why I bought this, because I have nothing brown in my life, but it worked really well, and there are some flowers, you can kind of see them. But if you layer that and then add in a little bit of other paper, again, it's all the characters, I actually used this for some First Order troopers that were outside of Smuggler's Run. So, you know, what matches and what can go well with the scenery but extend the papers. So I wanted to take a look at non-Star Wars papers. So I just pulled some papers from my stash, and we're going to kind of look at them. Now, you know, some of them, okay, here's silvers, here's blacks. That's going to work for Star Wars, right? Anything gray, black, here's some stars. Those are going to work well. Browns, blacks, blues even. This is from American Crafts, and I don't know if this is a Chamel line or a travel line, but not something that you would anticipate Star Wars. But look at all the little stars and the constellations, and like that is just super cute. And you've got the circle. You know, you could use one photo and some strips and stuff, and it could be your entire page. Okay. Again, blue stars. Think of textures too. So here's some old glitz rub-ons, and you know, they're perfect. You could use a little piece of it. You could use the whole thing and have your photos kind of lined up on it. Rub-ons are great for giving texture, but also that vintage feel. Because if they don't work 100%, you intended it that way, right? Because it's vintage. Here's one that I bought years and years ago. Boys and their toys. So eventually this will be a picture of Tom with, you know, his R2 collection. But, you know, stars. This is Bella Boulevard. Like, it's a pink piece of paper, but it has stars on the back. So, of course, I bought some because that would be a lot of fun with Star Wars. And again, watercolor this. Like, it's very dull because it's gray and white. But you could watercolor it. You could put paint on it. You could do mixed media on it. You could stamp on it. Like, there's some little spots that are kind of open. Stamp on it. Fill it in. This is actually a Disney paper, so it's meant to be for like Mickey and Minnie, but totally Star Wars in my mind. You know, because of the swirls and the reds. Again, you could color this down. This photo doesn't look exactly perfect with it, but if you had, you know, Kylo photos, or a lot of the Rise photos have some red in them because of his lightsaber, you could totally make that work. This, to me, is totally an Epcot sheet of paper, but you could also use it for Star Wars, too, because geometric shapes work with Star Wars. A lot of the ships are very symmetrical, or, you know, even when you go into Rise, the walls have those beautiful little, you know, cutouts. Symmetrical things work with Star Wars as well. Again, some more stars, geometric shapes. So for those pictures that are a little bit aqua, brown tones. So this is, you know, a vintage sheet of paper, but look at the B-sides, because sometimes your B-sides are fantastic. You've got plaids. Probably wouldn't use the jeans, but you never know. Like, if you had Poe Dameron's ship, that would look great on here, because Poe was always getting into mischief. You know, the blues, you want to break that up a bit. Blues, reds, probably not that. That's hideous, but I bought it for this. This is a Christmas line of paper, but again, it's stars with foil. Now's a good time to kind of look at those sheets of paper that you may not have used and use them up. Plaids, woods. This one, not so much. I'm not sure why this is in the pile, but again, the plaids, silvers, depending on how cute you want to be. This is a line of paper. It's just sand, okay? But as we know, the Skywalkers hate sand. So, you know, you could use this for the outside of Star Tours. Some of the scenes in Star Tours have the sand motif. It's kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because none of the Skywalkers like sand. So, I think I probably am a Skywalker because I'm not a fan of sand. This is My Little Yellow Bicycle, and this is like super old. 2009. but the gray and the white. But look at this great, like orange and blue. And again, you know, it's kind of cheesy, but you could cut pieces or cover them up. There's just lots of ways. Here's a die cut sheet. You could do this on your silhouette, right? Back it with some gray or back it with something to make it look a little more vintage. That would be a great idea. But there's lots and lots of papers that are like that. These actually are old glitz papers, or My Mind's Eye. Sorry, this one was the glitz one. But I just bought these at Hobby Lobby. So I was there one time and I was like, wait a minute. Because there's an original one. Wait a minute. I've seen that piece of paper before. Yeah. This was from 2008. They've re-released them. Again, they're a lot thinner. And they're at Hobby Lobby for like 69 cents. So they have these new sheets. But oh my gosh. Like, fantastic. So take a look at that. This is Heidi Swap. But I like the blue. Like, there's just lots of ways that you can use random sheets in different ways. Okay? Some of them are meant for more, like, totally Tomorrowland. But this was like a space line from Simple Stories. But that's Star Wars to me. So, you know, that would make a really cute page by just having beams and things. So when you're looking for papers, stars, galaxy, astronomy, geometric, those are all things that you can kind of look for that might give you the papers you want. Like this one. Like, this is supposed to be modern art. Well, I guess it is modern art, but it's a modern art line. But, you know, it's Star Wars. Shapes. This screamed Star Tours and R2-D2 to me like you would not believe. Probably wouldn't put him there. But, and this is Ella and Viv Modern Art.
That's amazing.
Right? And the textures are there. Like, there's no work you have to do. But you could replicate this, right? You could easily cut out the circles in the different colors. You could, you know, distress them and vintage them. And you've got your background. Space backgrounds work perfect. Okay, this one's already, you know, this is a science center line or something like that. Deep space. So, you know, those ones will work. Stars. Basic gray. You know, here's basic gray Wander. Like, that's plains. But, you know, some of these would be really cool, like with the Millennium Falcon. You know, you could kind of play around with those a little bit. I've been doing a lot of Christmas ones. You know, anything that has like the plaid tones, or like this is distressed, but look at it. It's a Christmas house on the back, but it's a distressed linen. You know, here's some old Bow Bunny. This is a beach line. Like, there's literally a crab on the back. But look at how great that blue is. So look for colors, look for textures, look for shapes. And I'm going to show a few things of paper. Now, Craft Consortium is one of my new absolute favorite places. They're a British company. They do paper pads in 6x6 and 12x12. And they've also come out with 8x8s. And all of their papers are kind of this watercolory look to them, which is extremely popular right now, but also could work for some Star Wars. Okay, so this is dusk, and there's lots of pinks in here, and so you know, I'm gonna get my use out of this paper pad because of the castle at night, you know, characters. But some of these ones, like, that is totally Star Wars to me, right? And again, you're going to cover up a lot of the paper anyway, depending on it. So this one isn't as good, but just wait, she says. Here's Earth. And so, you know, there's much more greens and blues. And these are on scrapbook.com, but they are also on Amazon. Now, get ready for this one. And I was talking to Sally about this, and she already ordered it because she was like, oh my gosh, I totally need that. Look at these metal textures. This is perfect for Galaxy's Edge, right? You've got the Millennium Falcon outside. You've got, you know, Galaxy's Edge just walking around, the patina on the buildings. Not so much that one, but this one. Like, they're just gorgeous, and they're nice. They're a nice weight. And, you know, that's like totally like where all the droids are sitting. Like, this is just a great sheet of paper, or great pad of paper. Like, even on the ride, you've got that whole scene where it's all lush greenery, and then the city. You've got, you know, Batu colors in here. So, and this pad of paper, I think I saw on Amazon last night, was about $15. So it's called Craft Consortium Metal Textures. And I can put the link in the chat later. But it's a really good pad that I have yet to break into. But I will once I get into my Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland papers or pictures. So excited about that one. Okay. That's papers. Any questions at that point?
I was just going to add that 49th and Market is my favorite for Star Wars lately for background.
Yep.
Because I can't work with the dark backgrounds very well, and most of my pictures are not the black and red and silver. They're the browns and a little gray maybe. But look at this.
The nature study is amazing. Like, you've got some blues, you've got some greens, you've got some browns, you've got grays. So that's the nature study. Even this is one of their older ones, Curator's Meadow. Again, if you need some red, you have some red, but you've got grays and browns and greens and yellows. The pink, we've always got castle pictures. So, you know, there's that, but also their new spice line. Now, this piece of paper, like, you're thinking, okay, it's pretty much Halloween and pumpkins, and oh my gosh, this paper line is amazing. First of all, 49 and Market always have cut-aparts on their marketing piece, so you're not throwing that away. And again, some of them are very bright, but you've got some gorgeous, like, teals. There's a brown tone. Pink, not so much. Look at this orange. Like, totally outside vintage feel, but the pumpkins are gorgeous. This gorgeous brown. Like, that's perfect for Galaxy's Edge. Not so much that sheet of paper, but if you're going to Galaxy's Edge and you wanted pumpkins, then you totally could do that. I'll probably use this for our most recent trip because we were there when it was Halloween, and my challenge now is to put pumpkins on all those pages. But there's some great papers, and you don't have to buy the kit. You could buy each individual piece. These are, the collection packs usually have more of the images, whereas the foundations packs are more the colors. So these are both foundation packs or solid packs. And so you get more of those backgrounds as opposed to, they have butterflies on everything. And I'm sorry, I cannot find a way to shoehorn a butterfly into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but if you want to, you feel free to do so. But it's the foundations packs that I would probably go for. And
this one is Serenity. These are from Serenity. It's not a nature collection, but it works very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a new one. It's from Spectrum Gardenia.
Yep.
It's, you know.
Yeah.
And one more thing, when you were talking about Christmas, I have Yoda Christmas card that I'm going to cut up and put on a page.
Yeah. So
a lot of Christmas.
Ephemera-wise, anything that has brown and textures. So these are from Allie Edwards, and I use these on a few of my pages. They're fabric patches, but they're like this nice, you know, neutral color, and they've got some printing on them. Textures are really nice. because of the vintage feel and the vintage look of the area, and everything is very metal and hard, sometimes adding in a little bit of texture is really nice on Star Wars pages as well. And of course, anything stars. So I have a drawer of stuff that's just stars. So I can dig in there and pull them out, whether it's, you know, a die cut star or it's a chipboard star. These I actually just got at Hobby Lobby. They're little foil silver stars, and they're like $1.99. So, you know, having some stars to tuck in or have, you know, splayed across the page is kind of fun too. So, stars are always an easy way to embellish. You know, die cuts are an easy way to embellish as well, because it can give you the actual image that you want to look for. You know, anything browns, I use these with these because they're brown. You know, anything kind of brown or geometric work really well. Of course, you can go and get specific Star Wars things. So these are Hallmark stickers, 8-bit, but also here's some Christmas ones. I got these at Walmart in the Hallmark section. So, you know, you're meant to play with this little 8-bit scene, but I'm like, haha, these are puffy actually, and these are more acrylic, but you can get some easy embellishments that way, and then create, you know, a circle and have a cluster. I know they're small, but you can kind of build around them, or use something like, where's my big star? You know, use the big star and then, you know, put some characters in them, or a cluster of characters, and then they're substantial on your page. A lot of times if you look in the kids section or at dollar stores, I actually got this on clearance at a grocery store for 44 cents. You know, there's lots of sticker sheets like this, and yes, when you pick them up, they're going to have the background. You can cut close to them yourself and put them on white. But sometimes you will have whatever background, because they're not intending them for scrapbooking. They're intending them for kids to play with, and kids don't care. But sometimes you can kind of play around. These ones are super, super old. These are from Canada still. Doesn't have a year on them, but I want to say I got them in the 90s. And I think I just liked them on the sheets. I just never used them. But anyway, here's one from Dollar Tree. Again, you're going to have the backgrounds of whatever's behind them, but sometimes you can make that work. And if not, then just trim them really close, stick them on a white sheet of paper, and then you can redo them. But even like the sticker book packaging, I save packaging from Lego and shirts and anything Star Wars, because this was a really cool little piece. I could cut that out and use that as an embellishment as well. So there's lots of variety. You know, even cutting out this logo. I have a whole bag where I've just cut out logos on packaging and gifts and things like that. So that I have the Star Wars logo.
Oga's Cantina coasters?
Yep, the coasters. Any ephemera from the parks. Yeah, those coasters work really well.
They'll give you more if you ask for them
when
you're there.
Yep. I've found that most people, if you say, hey, I'm a scrapbooker and I would really love an extra one of these, if it's okay, and they often will give it to me.
Well, Perry asked for it when I wasn't there, and they gave him about 2-inch tall stack. And then we went back the next day because I could go, and the guy saw us and gave us more.
You are prepped and ready.
I did some sharing.
Right. When we were at Mr. Toad's in Disneyland Paris, they have this nice, so they put it in the basket for the fish and chips, but it looks like an old style London newspaper, and it talks about Mr. Toad and his adventures. Ooh. And I was like, oh, but it has like fish and chips all over it, right? And you had tartar sauce. So I went and I asked, and my brother was so embarrassed, but I have no shame. So I'm like, I'm a scrap, and trying to explain this when they speak predominantly French. And so I'm like trying to explain in like whatever words I can that I'm a scrapbooker and I just need another one. And this one guy thought I was the most hilarious thing ever, because he's laughing away and he went and got one. And had to go in the back, and poor Jason's just dying of embarrassment. But I got one, and I will use it. But
nice.
yeah, just usually ask. They're usually good about giving you stuff. When all else fails, stamps. So here's where we cross the line. Okay, first of all, ink road stamps, and it's probably hard to see because I've used these things a million times. I don't know if they had an agreement with them, and Kindred Stamps too. I don't know if they had agreements with them. These are blatantly obvious replicas. Like, that is C-3PO. That is obviously Vader and R2-D2. That's obviously the logo. So I'm hoping that they had an agreement. It doesn't say so.
They only had to change 10% of the design.
Yeah. But even then, I don't know what 10% was changed on some of these.
Yeah.
But, in Ink Road, I know they did some Grogu ones, and it's like you blatantly traced off of Google. But whatever. And they can shut down.
I think they have probably, so what's going on is that they have too many money woes, so they're not going to spend all that on lawyers right now.
Yeah. Are they going to chase after these companies? Like Kindred Stamps. I know Kindred Stamps used to do Harry Potter, but Universal and Harry Potter went after them, and they have stated that they will never, ever do Harry Potter ever again. Do not ask them. So obviously there was some litigation there, but stamps are great because you'll see a lot of these images, because some of these ones, again, they're very small, and some of the phrases, like I've used this quite a bit, as just a secondary piece on my paper. I use a lot of this Death Star, but lightsabers, again, a lot of these you can use regardless. And there's Kylo, which is weird because he's kind of mixed. They mix their characters, so you pretty much have to buy all of them if you want the characters that you want. I mainly bought this because of the Death Star and R2, because R2 is Tom's dude. So that's why I got it. But, this ship one from Kindred Stamps is amazing because you've got the AT-AT and the X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon, which are all still relevant. And then you've got the Death Star there too. Now, if you find that you're like, well, Tanya, great, but I don't want to spend $20, $25 on stamp sets because I'm never going to use them. You know what's great about stamps is that friends can share them. Now, Kindred Stamps has an angel policy that, if they catch me stamping something and then you using it and you don't have a record, and I'm like, they'll come after me. And I'm like, how? Like, how do they know that you didn't buy it, right? I don't know. They're kind of
selling it.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't use these for something that I'm publishing anyway, because they're not legit. You know what I mean? Like, they're not sanctioned by Skywalker and Disney. But, if you were like, here's our BB-8, right? Sally is not into Star Wars, but she loves her some BB-8. Do you know how many BB-8s that I've stamped out on a sheet of paper and sent her? Probably 300 at this point, right? So
if exact designs are online as clip art.
Yeah. So if you don't know anybody who has the stamps, which you do, because these 3 stamp sets, if there's something you're like, oh my gosh, I want that Millennium Falcon, let me know. I can just stamp out some, send it in a legal envelope, and it costs the cost of a stamp, right? And some paper, which I have a bazillion pieces of cardstock anyway. I just stamp things out and send it to people. Clip art online is a great way to do it too, if there's something very, very specific. Sometimes you can find what you want, color change it, print it out, right? Print it out on nice heavy cardstock. You're good to go. Or if you see a photograph, you could print that out and use that as embellishments too, right? So, especially characters, like if you didn't get a good picture of a character and you want them, there's lots of character pictures online that you could pull and use as part of that. Or check with other people in the group, because a lot of us have pictures of characters just standing around or doing whatever, not necessarily with us. So embellishment wise, that's a kind of a great way to go. And even if you don't have Star Wars stamps, there's lots and lots and lots of stamps that you could use. So, just pulling out some stamps I already have. This is a drink stamp, but look at this cool little explosion, right? I could easily type in or stamp in Star Tours, right? That's a nice little explosion. The rest, probably not. I could use the circle, but the rest is drinks, right? Any of your stamps that have regular shapes. So here's a Halloween stamp set. Probably not going to use most of this, but look at these great little stars, right? You could easily use these little stars or even this star tag with a date, with, names of who's there. If you have just a little piece of journaling, there's lots of stamps that can be used in different ways. Again, here's some more little stamps or banners. Are you there with friends or family? You could use this stamp set, just having fun. This is a fireworks stamp. Again, all of these would work. I use a lot of my label stamps for stuff with Star Tours as well. So these ones have specific stars, but that's not to say that you couldn't use like just a regular label stamp and put a little star or put little star sequins. There's lots of ways that you could use stamps that you already have that have stars or circles or explosions or, here's one that's just all stars. There's lots of ways that you could use them to do different things. Some icons. Again, I could use the trees for Endor. I could use the music notes for Oga's Cantina, right? You got the Cantina band happening there. And at Oga's, you could use the drinks. There's stars here. There's hearts, cameras, right?
Yeah.
Lots of different icons and shapes. Even your like number stamps. So here's one that has like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a list. What are the 5 best things about Rise? What are the 5 best things about Smuggler's Run? Or you could even have a number of the seats, right? So who was the first pilot, second pilot? Who were the engineers? Who were the gunners? You could use number stamps in that way as well. Even here's a Christmas one, This Merry Moment. You could totally use that for, the first time that you're on Rise. There's lots of different ways to use tags, banners, word phrases that you may have already that you may not have thought of for Star Wars. And if you really love Star Wars, then, hearts and stuff will work as well in terms of, I really love this ride, or, Star Tours is one of our first ones that we always go on. So I know I've used phrases like that, like tradition. That's something you see in all Christmas stamps. Tradition, or we do this every year, or things like that. You could totally use them. Other ones, magical. Yep, you could use just regular stamps. You could use Disney stamps. Some of the Disney stamps now have Star Wars as part of it because of Galaxy's Edge. And I know that I have a Paper Person stamp set, and I can't see where it is, that it specifically has a Millennium Falcon simply because of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So there's lots of variety in what you might already have. You don't need to go run out and buy stuff. But, if you want some of these images that you can't justify spending the money on, or you can't get the stamp sets anymore, then, let me know. I can send you some images. I would be happy to do so. I usually stamp them in black ink, and then you can color them, do whatever you want with them. We'll talk about stamps more next weekend, but that gives you an option for some different embellishments as well.
Tanya?
Yes.
I also have quite a few Star Wars Galaxy's Edge cut files in our White Love level that we've shared over the years.
Yes.
If anybody needs any of those, you can text me and say, hey, where do I find the Star Wars ones? And I'll find them for you.
Yeah. Cut
including
files.
the one that Nancy's site stole and turned into a cut file and die. But here are some paper rose dies that work very well as well.
Yeah, there are lots of paper rose dies that are great for the shapes. I was going to show you a few pages. Hopefully these show up. So here's some cut files. So you have the logos. You have some star pieces, the black and white because of the stormtrooper. And this is a first order trooper. So that's the newer one here. Here's where I actually did use a piece of that Clone Wars paper because it was just for Star Wars. The colors matched. I'm like, that's good enough. I'll keep it there. Again, here's outside Disney World. So I used a cut file of the Death Star and then use the logo there. And here's some stickers. And then there's a sticker. And most impressive. So titles, a lot of times, phrases, just like we use phrases from songs, phrases from the movies, look them up. You know, this is a quote from Vader. Most impressive. Look up a character and, you know, quotes, or even Star Wars quotes. Like they call the Millennium Falcon in the newer movies, you know, a big junk heap, or I can't think of the exact one, but you know what I mean. But you could use that because it so totally applies because you're in Galaxy's Edge with the Millennium Falcon. There's a stamp, Together We Can Rule the Galaxy. So again, that one I've used quite a bit because it's kind of fun and it's a nice big one. So, you know, mixing and matching die cuts and stickers and things like that. You know, here's a Chewie mug. There's nothing Star Wars on here. It's all brown tones, and this was actually a line, but you got the stars. It was a line for like lumberjacks or something, and so just the brown worked. And I had a strip of paper that wasn't long enough. I cut it and stuck each one down, and then just sewed a strip to give it some dimension. And I've got the stars. LE Studio has great little embellishments like that. So, you know, you don't have to go nuts with the Star Wars. I don't like this page, but this was the launch bay, and I used the printed sheet in the background. We'll just skip over that one because I'm not happy with that one. But here's some stickers.
That looked great. That page looked great.
Oh, you're nice.
I liked it.
Yeah, not a fan.
I like the one with the helmet. That's awesome.
Yeah. So this was in the launch bay. So just these are stickers. That's a cut file. This one, so I got this Star Wars cologne for Tom. And this piece right here was part of the packaging. I just cut it out and I used it because it looked like the window bay from the Millennium Falcon.
And yeah, you know, when you go to Savvy's workshop and you build a lightsaber, you get a pin, a Disney pin that is your icon.
Yep.
I have taken a picture of that and cut those out, and they look exactly like putting the pin on your page, but flat.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
Or any other Star Wars pin, for that matter.
Lightsaber? Yeah. And even if you're not going to buy the pin, take a picture of it when you're in the store. Right? Like, but honestly, like if you don't want to invest in a pin because you're never going to use it other than as a image, then why spend the money on it, right? Here's some stamps. This paper is, I think this was a father and son line, but I liked the colors and the vibrancy. It worked great for the launch bay. Nothing to do with Star Wars, but just a few little touches of Star Wars here and there. Here's Cricut paper. So this was the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. That's what it was. So I added a little Han Solo sticker. This was before Galaxy's Edge. This is 2016. But in Launch Bay, they had a replica. So that's what I did, right? You've got the metal. Metal works fantastic with Star Wars because there's so much metal in the ships and in Galaxy's Edge and all that good stuff. You know, all of these are on the site, but, you know, here's more lightsabers. So, you know, I did the dark side and the light side. Here's more. Here's Luke Skywalker. He was Red Leader, so I put a little sticker of Luke, because how often are you going to be able to use a sticker of Luke? Here's a stamp, right? This was a die cut. Trying to use some of my Star Wars paper. This is not Star Wars paper at all. This is just a vintage sheet of paper, and this was a travel line. All I did was do some stitching, and I added some Star Wars stuff, and it's a picture with Chewie. I must have gotten a few sheets of specific to the new one, because there's a Kylo Ren page. Again,
For Chewie, on one of my pages, I cut fringe with brown paper and layered it a little bit, and that was kind of a cool Chewie thing.
Yeah, for sure. And here's Han Solo's outfit. So I put a little sticker of Han Solo. Oh, and this was when we were touring the launch bay. Some random dude was talking to his wife and said, Han Solo could get any girl in the galaxy in that. And I said to them, damn right. So there's a cut file that Susan had made at that time, and I forget what year that was. Sometime after 2016. It says Rebel Scum. So I cut it out, and then I backed the Rebel logo with a punched circle of silver, and then just made a little cascade. There's a Millennium Falcon because he's tied to the Falcon. There's some of those stars in that pack. There's a big sticker. But again, that could have been a die cut. There you go. And I think that's it for... Oh, no, here's this one. So, numbers. So this was for every single park for that trip, I did a favorite. So this was paper from Hobby Lobby that had these foil arrows. And I don't know why I bought it. But then I had the idea of just putting the numbers and the pictures and the journaling. So these are our favorites. So meeting Kylo Ren, because I absolutely love Adam Driver. I thought he was great as Kylo Ren, so that was super cool. And then, you know, we saw life-size droids, you know, meeting Chewie. And of course, this was when Tom and Chewie had a whole conversation in Wookiee, so that was weird and hilarious at the same time. But he did that again when we were at Disneyland recently. Chewie was up with some of the ships, and so Tom stood in front of him. They were going back and forth, and these kids were looking at him like, "Oh, you speak Wookiee?" It was hilarious. Lots and lots and lots
Is
of fun.
anyone having sound issues? Okay, it's me.
Just you? Okay.
No, I am too.
Okay.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, we're having
really
difficulty
quiet.
hearing you, Tanya. You're
Oh,
cutting out a little bit.
is that better?
Not really.
Okay. I'm like right beside.
That's better.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay. I'm like right beside the phone. So, this one was funny because the you know, the cast member telling you which way to go had "This is the way," which is from The Mandalorian.
Oh, that's good.
I howled laughing, which made him laugh, and so I had to take a picture. And I said, "I need a picture of you because I need to scrapbook you." And he thought I was weird and whatever. But did I have a Baby Yoda sticker? No. I found this online. I printed it out and I cut it out. So, and then there's some stars. I always tend to put stars. But then here's the paper in behind. So it matched his coat. I picked up the yellow and the yellow behind Baby Yoda. But this paper is not paper for The Mandalorian, and I don't care. I broke it up by spritzing it a little bit so you don't see, you know, it has a whole bunch of the movies and stuff, but I spritzed it to make it a little more vintage, but to really draw attention to this piece as opposed to 10 you're using the wrong paper. And this is a Christmas piece, my favorite signs of the season. So I wanted to mix in Christmas because we were there, but that just worked out. The Star Wars paper in behind is that vintagey one.
You're cutting out again.
You can kind of mix and match your pieces there. You know, here's a dark brown Christmas page. So if you have brown, vintage, scrapped, you know, they work. Or wooden embellishments. They'll work great as well. There's something about the metal and the wood that just goes, because it has that, that creation feel. Here's the ships. So I specifically watercolored this one to look like Pose. The AT-AT and the Millennium Falcon, there's really not much you can do. You can do some highlights and stuff with grays and browns, but for the most part, they're pretty flat. So here's the, Smuggler's Run. I used that Millennium Falcon paper. We wrote it 3 times in a row. So the Millennium Falcon paper is in the background on all 3 pages. I numbered them and wrote Smuggler's Run. I don't think I've posted these ones yet, but I did a Millennium Falcon on every single page. So sometimes, consistency, and we actually asked for Chewy mode and we got it on the 3rd one because we had 4 or 3 other people with us and they did not speak English. So we were trying to tell them which buttons and they were confused. So we asked the cast member and she's like, well, let me see if it works, because if they touch anything, it might not. But she got Chewy mode to work. So, Tom was like super pumped. Not great pictures, but really don't care. But then I had some Chewy stickers, and so put Chewy in there. Again, this is snowflake paper, but it's just brown tones. Here's where I cut out those little lightsabers and cross them. And here's the little pieces. You don't have to have a whole sheet of paper. So that sheet of paper you saw where I cut things out, I used it and just built up a cluster. It still has Star Wars, but it doesn't it's not Star Wars kick you in the face. Here's Imperial Domination. There's a big AT-AT in behind. You can kind of see his knee socket here. I covered him up because the AT-AT didn't work for this, because this is when we were boarded for Rise. Here's a pin. A Woman's Place is in the Resistance. So I used this for Rey, but it was one of those like $1.99 pins. And I can't remember if that was at Disney or if that was like at Hot Topic. So sometimes when you're out and about and you see Star Wars things, just pick them up if you think you're going to use them as embellishments. This book is so full. All of my books from Disney World are so full. Again, there's that blue. There's just lots of ways that you can do things without being specific.
So much blue and purple.
Yeah, and lots of red tones, and sometimes there's weird greens, and here's one where this was a marketing piece that they sent out. So there was Elsa, and there was the Animal Kingdom tree, and they were like postcards. I just trimmed him down because I didn't have anything Kylo, and I used a little bit of washi tape and a few little things stuck here and there, some geometric shapes, and there's my page. So, keep those things. And sometimes they send those movie club ones, and they want you to join the movie club, and they have the stickers of the characters. I save all of those. Those are free embellishments. So, there's lots of ways to do things. There's that Hobby Lobby paper again. Here's old basic gray Christmas paper. And some tags and a Millennium Falcon. So, there's lots of ways that you can kind of do things that if you're there during seasons. Here's the one where I used the orange. Okay, again, not a Clone Wars page, but I liked the color and was trying something different. Went with some vintage stuff. Did the ships, did some poinsettias to do a wreath. And there's the page. So, don't overthink it. Have fun with it. See what you have, see what you can use. This is actually a dollar spot Target notepad. And it was only about this long. But what I did is I put this big strip down the middle and used 2 of him. So I cut off, the bottom is in there. And then this one I cut off the top R2 head and just made it look like a really, really long R2 notepad.
That's cool.
And did the journaling.
Wow.
Here's one that I bought at Scrapbook Expo. Do Dilly Designs, I think, did them. It's just a cut file. And there's a stamp. Here's one this was a cut file I think you did, Susan. So it's just a cut file of R2, and I put some enamel dots where his little, like where his eye is, and then his little red light. I made sure I put a little red one, but that's it. That's the only Star Wars thing on that page. Everything else, this is Hobby Lobby paper. I think this is Jen Hadfield paper. This is Christmas paper. These are just words.
Yeah, I like that.
Here I used some stickers. Again, on a stamp. Here's that fabric piece. This was a tag that was a small tag. Again, I cut it and then used the other piece up here. Tags, textures, all of that works really well with Star Wars. There's those little plus signs. You know, here's the August page. Again, this I think was a cut file that you made, Susan, but I just printed it out, punched it, and used it because it worked. And then this is all that Star Wars paper. Like, I don't even know how that's Star Wars, but okay. Like, it matches, and it looked really good with the very bright, colorful Oga's piece. Here's a 4, 5, and 6 picture. Leia and Luke, or not Leia and Luke, Leia and Han, and Luke and Vader. And I just used those as embellishments because we were in the launch bay, which has a lot of the 4, 5, and 6. You know, this is a metal gift tag that I got from Walmart with a few of my little stamps. And again, am I worried? Not really. It's an at. It's Star Tours. Star Tours crosses all of the movies. You know, you can be a little more relaxed there. Here's a bunch of stamps. This is all Christmas paper. Like, I know it just looks like brown paper. If you flip it over, it has poinsettias on it. It's Stampin' Up! Christmas paper. This was a tag stamp in a Disney line, sorry. And then I just stamped Rise on it. Made it Star Wars. So, you know, again, basic gray. This is Stampin' Up! Paper. I use a strip of that other paper that I used before. Here's that tag again. Here's wood. Let's Be Adventurers. It's us going on Smuggler's Run, and I just added a Han and Chewie. These are tiny, tiny little stickers from a sheet from Dollar Tree. Super easy peasy. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy. These are stamps. This is the one I did for the actual crop. Oh, and here's another orange piece of paper. See, I bought so much of it. Like, why? I don't know, but it's clones, so you can kind of see it in the background, but it's when you get into Rise. So, you know, this is actually from packaging. We got a little C-3PO Funko Pop, and the box was damaged, and I got it for like a couple bucks. So what I do is I just cut out all of the images, and I use the free embellishments, right? So that's how he got to be there. Is he part of it? Not really.
Speaking of the packaging, the boxes and packaging that you get from Droid Depot or from Creature Shop, I've cut those up a lot. They have Arabesh writing on them. Also, the Arabesh font is very good to use when you need an embellishment. But clothing from Target or Walmart or anywhere that is Star Wars always has a really cool tag.
Always. Yep. They do that for marketing, but they end up being great. I have a little container, and I don't know where I put it, but I have a little. It's actually meant for crayons, but I keep all those tags. Anytime you buy Loungefly that is Disney related, it'll say Disney Loungefly.
It'll say Star Wars.
Yeah, or Star Wars. I keep all of those. Simply because sometimes you're scrapbooking something and the Loungefly is kind of a big piece of the story. But if it's not, you could also just cover up the word Loungefly and have a beautiful tag that says Star Wars. So, yes, all of those are all pieces that you can use as well.
The Creature Shop is one of the difficult spots kind of to scrap for me because we don't have any of the embellishments anywhere. None of the creatures are on them. So I may try to make some cut files. I'm not sure. But the Creature Shop is one that I haven't really seen anyone scrap.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the creatures in general, like even like the Rancor, which was a big piece of the first trilogy, you rarely, if ever, see anything Rancor.
Or even a Bantha.
Yeah, a Bantha, or even Jabba the Hutt, who is like a main character. I have one sticker of Jabba the Hutt, I think, and I've never used it because I only have one sticker of him. So, yeah, that's where you might want to go online and look for images or like clip art or cut files, or even if it's a silhouette of some of the characters, like Salacious Crumb, his silhouette would be super easy to remember. Jabba's,
I'll try to make some.
Jabba's might be a little bit harder because he looks like a big lump, but you could, as long as his arms were kind of out, you could see it a bit better. And I would probably put some enamel dots where his eyes would go, because that would be kind of creepy, because he's creepy. But yeah, something like R2D2 or C3PO, it's a much easier sell on a silhouette, because he's so iconic. Everyone knows who that is. But he's also an R2 unit, so you could change this into any other color, because R2 units are all built the same. He's R2D2, but there's, R2 R5, there's tons of them. Just like the BB-8 unit, that's BB-8, but there's other BB units that have the same exact shape. That's why when you go in to create them, you can choose all of your options, because there's all different types of units. Now, you have all these creative choices. What does Tom do? He creates an exact R2D2. And I said to him, I'm like, you're going to create an exact one. He's like, R2's my boy. And I'm like, I know, but you could create any type of R2. No. So, it worked because R2's his boy. So, and if you look here, I don't know why I bought this piece of paper, but it looks like a whole bunch of like circuits and stuff. So, sometimes that's kind of cool with, and I only had the one sheet, so I just split it in half, but sometimes that's kind of cool with Star Wars as well, because there is so much circuitry, and there's, piping, and there's, think of when you're in Rise, when you're walking through it, there's all those cool, pipe things on the walls, and latches and levers, and, you've got so much texture with Star Wars. So those are all good things to think of as well. Like, you've got all these little details where, there's cables hanging, and like, you could totally replicate that with a banner, or even just, twine, or, pull inspiration from the place around you, with the ships, and, there's just so much to look at. Like even the little details along the Millennium Falcon, like you could do really cool thing. If you wanted to spend the time, you could really, cut out pieces of paper and ink them and have them going down the side of a page, or have a border, or, you could do lots of things with that too. There's packaging that I cut up and I just inked up to make it look old. It's easy to find Star Wars stuff if you just are cheap. I guess is what I'm saying. All right. Questions, comments, concerns?
Okay. I do have something that I was thinking about all of your suggestions, and about why I'm still not scrapping them, even though I see you do these pages. I pull out my photos, and some of them are individual pages, but a lot of them clearly need 3 pages, 3 full layouts full of photos, or even for Rise of the Resistance, I think it might be an album.
Yeah.
It's intimidating to me whenever I know that I can't do just 1 page.
So piece it off. So here we wrote Smuggler's Run 3 times. Now I could have tried to fit all these photos onto 1 page, right? And just did Smuggler's Run. Piece it off. So I'm like, you know what? We wrote it 3 times. Each time was very different, because one guy or the other was the pilot, And then I changed my role, or in the third time, nobody was the pilot because we had the other 3 people with us, and we let them pilot it. Piece them off. And you're right. Like this album of Hollywood Studios, the vast majority of it is Rise of the Resistance. I think there's 40 layouts in this book, and probably 30 of them are Star Wars. And I love Star Wars, and even I found that daunting. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do the same thing over and over again without getting bored? Or it's overwhelming. So either piece it off into, you love these photos, then spend the time doing them. But I would say don't do all of them all at once, because then you're just going to get overwhelmed. So, do some that you really enjoy, then do a Star Wars one. Do some other ones, do a Star Wars one. And pretty soon they'll just get done. So if you want the pictures, piece it off. But you also don't need to piece it off to the point where, I did, like, here we're being boarded. And here we are with the stormtrooper or the First Order troopers. Yeah. Here we are being interrogated. Like, here's the probe droid. Like, why? Why, Tanya?
I'm going to do that. I am. I really am with Rise
and
of
that's
the
fine.
Resistance opening morning. You bet I'm doing that. My biggest problem is pages like, say it's a bad example, but Oga's Cantina, and I know that of the photos that I have laying on my desk from that one visit, I have 3 pages. It's going to be 3.
Yeah, piece them off.
Now, if it is 3 pages for that 45 minutes that we were in there, I pull out my papers, and they're all brown because Oga's Cantina is all brown and blue. So I'm trying to pull them together, and obviously there's not a collection for this, so I'm doing like you said. I'm digging through my basic gray and stuff, and maybe pulling out a paper that has stars on it, and I've got it in front of me. And when you have a full collection in front of you and you need to do a 3-page layout, that's one thing. But when you have a group of mismatched stuff in front of you and you have to do a 3-page layout, and you only have one piece of this paper, and you're going to have to cut it up in little pieces to make it go across the 3-page layout to look good together, that's where I get stuck. And I know what needs to be done, but it still stops me. And I was thinking about it. Sometimes if I just come up with the title for it, and I don't have to have a title on every page, but sometimes if I just come up with the title and a couple of main embellishments, then I can see the 3 pages. But
so if you have one sheet of paper for 3 photos or for 3 layouts, cut the paper into thirds automatically. So do a 12 by 4 strip and put them with your photos. There's that problem solved. And you can only work with that piece of paper.
Problem.
Pardon?
My biggest problem for me personally is the background.
Yep. So that's where paper packs will help, right? Because you have what you need automatically, right? If you well, but choose different tones, right? So, these 2 match. They're 2 different sheets of paper, right?
Yeah.
Or here you've got ones that are gray and blue tones or gray and green tones. So there's one. Pick another sheet of paper in here because they're going to match. Right? If you go with a collection pack, chances are you're going to find ones that are the same. With my Smuggler's Run, I did use the same piece of paper. It was the Millennium Falcon paper. I don't know how many sheets of it because I got a whole bunch of those Cricut packs on sale. I used the same sheet of paper. Now, on some of them, you see a lot of the paper. On some of the layouts, you see very little of that paper, but it's still the same paper around the edge. So you still have that consistency.
Yeah.
And if
that was one of the things.
If you like one of these sheets of paper, like if you like that, then use it for all 3. It's all the same experience. It's all the same place. What you do on that is going to be very different because you might have a picture of your drink. You might have a picture of, the old Star Tours captain who is your DJ now. You might have a picture of you sitting with your nibbles. Right? So it's what you see on that background is going to be different, but it's still the consistency of you're in the same spot.
Yeah.
and go neutral. Like you could do a wood grain, you could do a gray tone. You know, there's so many of these vintagey type papers that are ready to go, but you don't necessarily have to do brown. You could do like a red tone and then put like vellum or, you know, a white piece of paper or a brown piece of paper on top. And then the next time you use brown in the background with a red highlight, right? So there's the different ways to do things like that. It depends on your photos, right? I used vintagey looking papers and it worked because those were my photos. But, you know, there's lots of different ways that you can achieve that same look and feel. Especially with lines like 49 and Market where, you know, I could use some of this paper and this paper. All of 49 and Market matches. All of it. So I could use Gardenia, I could use Spectrum, I could use a Christmas line. Like, it all matches. So I just picked these ones because they're really nice backgrounds. But, you know, here's a winter paper. But you can see it matches this line of papers. Everything matches of theirs. So it makes it a little bit easier.
It's just so expensive. Ugh.
It is. And that's why I would say buy the packs, because instead of paying $1.50 or $1.65 per sheet, depending on where you're buying it, you know, these packs of paper are 10. So you get, you know, 8 sheets of paper for, you know, $10.
Okay.
And so, like,
what is that one called? What is that gray one called?
This one?
Yeah.
This is Nature Study.
Okay.
Colored foundations. Yeah. Now, one thing to note with this, these papers are very thick. So, you know, my book, I had like 40 some layouts. There's no way with this paper I'll have 40 some layouts. And it's still, it's popping out. Like you can see, it's a bit of a hot mess because of how thick it is. But when I'm mapping out my Disneyland papers and I'm using this paper specifically, I'm going to map out, I think, 30 layouts in the book, because by the time you layer 2-3 of these, the pages are going to be heavy and thick. Not a bad thing, but just something you need to think about. You know, stamps and stickers are great because they're nice and thin, but anywhere where I've used acrylic or chipboard, your pages are going to be thicker. And especially with, you know, a thicker paper like this, you're paying more because of the quality, but you're also going to be paying for it in your album because it's going to take up a lot more room.
One more comment about the paper while you were talking about that reminded me. When you were showing the papers before that were Star Wars lines and things from Cricut or whoever had the actual Star Wars papers.
Yep.
Some people are very good at using papers that have the icons on them. I'm not. I do have all those papers, but I cannot use a whole sheet of them to save my life. So what I do is I fussy cut out some of the smaller designs or elements, and I will layer them on a tag, and then it's more friendly to my style.
Yeah.
So even though I see the pages that sometimes you or somebody else might do that have the big icons on them, or even the all over prints, I just can't do it. So if that bothers you, then cutting out some of the little Rebel tags or the Millennium Falcons and layering it onto another layered embellishment like a tag or a journaling block works great.
Yeah. So that's what I did here. So that paper that we looked at earlier, let me take that out. I should have done this so that there's no shine. Sorry, guys. That paper that had Yoda and Wicket and Chewie, very busy paper. And so I just used a little strip of it with a strip that says Star Wars. So it's still there on this. This is actually a wood grain. This is from Hobby Lobby. It's super, super thin, but it came in a whole pack of nothing but wood grains. But I like the green. And then what I did was, like Susan said, cut out little pieces from the paper. And then there's my 3 amigos. And then I also put some ships here because I wanted the 3 cluster. But yeah, use them as little embellishments. You know, if you only have 1 sheet of paper, that's going to make your sheet of paper go super far. And even if you have a little scrap of paper, you could use it as a tag or you could use it as a strip or a border. You know, just because you don't have a whole sheet doesn't mean you still can't do a Star Wars page. And if you have stamps and you don't have papers, use your stamps. Stamp the ships all over the place in an erratic pattern. Cut it up, right? When you first walk into Star Tours, there's that beautiful wall that has all of the like Star Tour shapes on it. I took a picture in Disneyland when we were there recently because I'm like, oh my gosh, you could print that as a 12 by 12 photo and there's your background. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and if you love the photo of you with the Millennium Falcon, print it 12 by 12. Cut it down a little bit, put some cardstock in behind, and then your photos there, you just have to do a little bit of embellishing and you're good to go. Like you could easily do that. And I've done some, I don't think I have any in here. Oh, here's one. Okay. So this is an 8 by 12 photo of the stormtroopers or the First Order troopers. Because I love this. Like this is so visually engaging to me. I literally want to just lay on the ground and just stare at this all day. And they rush you through here, which breaks my heart. Because I'm like, don't rush me. Like these are my people. But, you know, they need to get you going because there's the next crew and I get that. But make your photos big. Like I love big photos for things that are super, super important to me. I did small little ones of other parts of that area because it was the first time I wanted those bits to kind of fill in. But make your photos big. Like, you know, sometimes like a 5 by 7 is nice. Or here's another 8 by 12. Like I have no shame for big photos because I love them. Like you get to see the details, but a lot of your work is done now. Like, and I know I've got the comment before where, you know, oh, it seems like a lot more work to do 8 by 12. No, this is me going, hey, I want the detail and hey, I want to be a little bit lazy because there's so much less real estate that I need to worry about now as opposed to a page like this where I need to fill in a bunch of stuff because it's going to look naked otherwise. 8 by 12s are just easy. You put a cluster on each edge and you're done. Like, guys.
When do you get your 8 by 12 printed?
So here is my sad, tragic tale of woe. I used to get them printed at Costco, and Costco prints 8 by 12s. Costco stopped printing photos, and now it's through Shutterfly. Shutterfly does not have 8 by 12. Oh, woe is me. Shutterfly does have 12 by 12 though. So what I could do on a page like before is have, you know, your 8 by 12 and then have these little photos above it so that it's all on one page. And if you have a Costco membership, they actually give you a discount. You get like 51% off. So it actually ends up being the same price as a 8 by 12 in the long run, but I just liked getting my 8 by 12s and I could print them out. Even my 8 by 12s, I could cut them in half and do 6 by 8s for my December daily, and now they don't have it. So I tried doing the 8 by 24 because I'm like, okay, well then that's just double this, right? But then they do something weird and they cut off the last ones and the middle ones are bigger. I wasn't happy. I don't know if I did something wrong or they do something wrong, but yeah, you could print an 8 by 12 and then put extra photos at the top and then just cut it down. So that's what I'm going to have to do now.
8.5 by 11 works too. Oh,
yeah, a lot of places don't do 8.5 by 11. If you're printing at home, you can. A lot of everywhere does 8 by 10 though. So, you know, in some cases I did trim some of the big ones down. Like I did in this one, I trimmed it down because I wanted that edge. So you would just have to, it wouldn't be able to touch edge to edge. It would just be a little bit smaller. So I'll probably do 8 by 10s, you know, and just, you know, get over it. But
I think, I've never done the large pictures like that. But I think with Galaxy's Edge, because of especially the photos you just showed, you need to have the Millennium Falcon, a giant photo, even if it's a 5 by 7.
Yeah.
You probably need to plan one for the stormtroopers and nighttime Millennium Falcon. So,
Yeah.
you know,
those are my...
I haven't done that. I need to do that.
If you have a printer at home, I print 8x12. I bought this paper from Epson. It's 11x14.
Yeah.
I trim it down to 8.5 by 12.5. And if your printer will do legal size, it'll run this.
Oh.
So that's how I get my 8x12s.
So my printer, I guess my printer
should.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I use it. So it's just 11x14 Epson paper. I buy it on Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah.
11x14
premium photo paper. So it's like ginormous. Here's how big it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't do a ton, so this lasts me like 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's like $40 or $50, but it lasts forever because it's 20 sheets. So that's how I print my really big.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes like 8x12s. I tend to like the things that are meant to be big in life, like in real life, looking at them, like the Millennium Falcon, or things that you want to see detail, or things that you like. There's not a lot of journaling on this, because what are you going to journal? Hey, this is the Millennium Falcon at night in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, right? So sometimes your embellishments tell the story, like, you know, let's celebrate today, simple joys. That's it. There's no more journaling on this, because it kind of speaks for itself. Even some of my other things that I have, like Gertie, like what am I going to say about Gertie that, you know, there's a few little things down here. I thought it was super cool that she was holding the little Christmas ball and it said 50. That's what my journaling says. And that's a little journaling Christmas tag. You know, and I cut her down. So she was 12 inches, but I cut her down so you could see the edges. So, you know, you're right, Janine. There's not going to be a lot that you're going to do, but in some cases like this one, this was all we saw of Rise, because we broke down here and we sat here for like 20 minutes. This was our view, and we ended up walking out those doors. So that's what my journaling says, you know, and here's a picture of us sitting there laughing because, you know, what are you going to do if things break down? You know, and I wanted it big because that's all we saw. And then my little stamp, you know, matched him. So, you know, you don't always have to do big, but if you have a lot of things that you want, of course you don't want to do everything big, because otherwise you're going to have 20 million pages. I like making them a little bit smaller so I can kind of have a bit of a collage. But, you know, in some cases you do want bigger ones. Like here, Oga's, I made these smaller because I didn't want to do a page about the drinks. I just wanted one page about Oga's. Now, you know, if I wanted to break these off into different individual stories, then of course I would have made them a little bit bigger. But it really just depends on what your story is. So when you're looking at your photos, even though they're great photos and you absolutely love them, like I could have done a whole page on the Death Star because I love the Death Star. Love it. Right? But my story was, this is Launch Bay. You know, Star Wars is such a big force for us. That was the story I wanted to tell. You know, Star Wars, we had a Star Wars wedding. Everything is Star Wars in our lives. And so that, you know, that's kind of the story here of this page. So while we may take thousands and thousands of photos, sometimes you have to take a step back and what is the story that you want to tell with this Star Wars piece? And, you know, maybe that'll help you trim down from 50 pages of Star Wars to 30 pages of Star Wars. And maybe that's manageable. Maybe you want to tell a story about every single little piece. And, you know, that's up to you. But I would piece it off. And Star Wars tends to be overwhelming, even for me who loves it. But, like, I don't want to do 28 Star Wars pages in a row. And unfortunately, when I got to my Hollywood studios, that's all I had was pretty much Star Wars pages to do. And it was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do all these Star Wars pages? But interspersing them with other things, it doesn't seem as daunting. So if you're doing things that you enjoy and then you're going to do one Star Wars page, do it. And if you don't know where to start, there's lots and lots of inspiration in the gallery. Now, if you like a sketch, any sketch, just pick a sketch. If you love it, you can make it into Star Wars. Because Star Wars is all about that. Okay, Other questions? Oh, did I lose you guys? Oh, I think I lost you. Well, let me see if I can get you back. Hey guys, I think I lost you there.
Yeah, we were just chatting while you were gone about some of the things.
Okay. So, other questions that you have?
Not really. I did add, Tanya, that I like to use mist and paint to splatter on the layout, even gold. And I know that not everybody likes glitter, but I do add glitters to mine quite often, or gold, because land is super sparkly. Daytime or nighttime, and sometimes blue watercolor to throw on the page, or even color in something in the background, because anytime you go indoors, anywhere in the land or the whole park, it's blue.
Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of blue. Yeah.
Well, Doc Ondar is a good example. He is not blue. He is not purple. But every photo you take of him will be because of the light on his face.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do think I need to make some icons, like I was telling him, the thermal detonator Diet Coke. You know, the little Diet Coke. And I think I definitely need loath cats. I do have blue milk cut file with a little blue bantha that you can cut out if you need a bantha. But I don't have Salacious Crumb, and I need to make him.
So the colors of Star Wars go into color theory, and we could have a whole separate class and thing about this, because I did a lot of research on this when I was working with real estate agents and building their websites and stuff. But blue is a very trusting color. Green is very energizing. Orange is very energizing. Orange and yellow are energizing. So think of your sports teams, right? You always have, you have blues, you have greens, you have oranges, you have yellows. Red is a caution color, right? So think of your villains. Vader, his lightsaber is red. Kylo Ren, his lightsaber is red. But you have lots of blues because, like Max Rebo, you're supposed to trust them, right? R2-D2 is blue. Trusting. His red light comes on when, you know, he's checking things, or he's processing data that he needs to tell you. You know, gold tones, we tend to be attracted to metallics. So C-3PO being gold works, right? Because you're supposed to trust him. And he's classy and he's fussy, so gold works perfect for him. But colors like yellow, people, the study that I read was interesting, because they say never have your baby's room be yellow. Babies cry 20% more often in a yellow room than in other colors, because yellow is very hard to process on your eyes. And I'm thinking back to my aunts who all had yellow kitchens. Like, it was aggravating being in their kitchen, and I never really knew why, besides all of the geese in there. But it was because of the yellow. Yellow is very hard for your eye to process. So splashes of yellow work great, but all yellow, very, very difficult. So sometimes it's your color theory as to why they have those colors. Blue is very trusting. Green is energizing and refreshing. Unless it's a putrid green, like Jabba the Hutt, because he's supposed to look like he came from a swamp. But like your ships, like Poe's ship is black and orange because he's energetic, right? He's got a lot of energy. Orange is go, 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 and that is totally Poe. So, you know, when you're thinking of the spots, think of some of the feelings that you have in that area as well. There's lots of browns, because everything goes with brown. It doesn't matter where you are in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you match. No matter what you're wearing, you can match, because brown is very, very neutral. But it's also a cool brown, like a blue tone brown, because you're supposed to feel comfortable and trusting there, as opposed to like a muddy red brown where you're going to feel agitated because of the red. So there's that kind of color theory behind it as well.
There's a lot of brown and green and lush greenery areas in Galaxy's Edge that you don't really think about. And you pull out your Star Wars drawer and then you go, oh, my photos are all green.
Yeah.
This is all planned.
So then pull out your Animal Kingdom drawer, because you're going to have lots of greens and browns there, because Animal Kingdom is very lush and green and vibrant and alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But a lot of Animal Kingdom also has that orangey brown too. So that's not necessarily going to go.
It's incredibly frustrating when you go to take pictures and you get your pictures back and all of your photos, your faces are blue because you were standing under that light.
Yep.
In any queue or hallway or outside or evening, you're blue.
But that's a funny page too, because you could do a whole page of just you with a blue face and use the title of that song, I'm Blue, right?
Hey, the whole Christmas parade, everything in the Christmas parade that should be other colors, no, it's blue.
Yeah.
Because of the blue light that was right above your head when you were standing there watching the parade.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
But I appreciate it, Tanya. A lot of that stuff is helping me. I've already thought about going through my Christmas papers now and pulling out some of the brownie gold stars from especially the older collections.
Oh, yes.
Because I never would use those. I'm not going to use those on a Christmas page. They're ugly. But they're perfect for Star Wars, especially for Oga's Cantina. So I think I'm going to look for those ones like that one that you used. I believe it's a sort of old-fashioned Christmas die cuts with a view.
Yeah.
That had the brown with the stars. Yeah.
So I would challenge you to pull out any Christmas pad. And if you're looking for papers for Star Wars, you're looking for papers for Castle, you're looking for papers, anything other than Christmas, you are going to find pieces of paper in that pad that will work for any Disney. When go ahead.
A lot from fall. From, Any fall collection from Die Cuts with a View, I pull a lot for Star Wars from there.
Yep, woods, grains, even some of the oranges work depending. But yeah, you're gonna find a lot.
That red dirt.
Yeah, and it's amazing how Christmas, like when you're looking at it, it looks so Christmassy, but then once you take away this is Christmas paper and you're looking, you can find tons and tons of stuff in here that will work. And I know when I first started the 2021 album, I'm like, this is going to be super hard. And I found that once I got going, probably all of my pages have a lot of Christmas paper. I've used tons of, just simply because there's so many, especially B-sides. A lot of B-sides are greens or reds, or they have like little tree patterns, or they have little star patterns, and you can use it and it's not Christmas at all. Use up your Christmas stash.
I think I found what I'm going to use this paper for. I bought it at Tuesday morning. I have 20-ish sheets of it.
Yep.
I'm like, Star Wars.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Been sitting in my stash for like 5 years because I thought it was cute and I've not used it, but now I'm like, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's perfect.
B-sides. Star Wars is all about the B-sides a lot of the time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use B-sides, I think, in general more than I use the other ones.
Yeah. Some of them are just so busy.
Yeah. And I've noticed with some of the Christmas collections I've gotten lately, I didn't buy the pad. I didn't buy the collection. I just bought the papers because I counted, and if there were 12 papers, I'm generally really loving about 8 of them, and I'd rather have 16 of those, double those up, than buy that pack.
Yeah.
Have those 4 papers I'm probably not going to use, especially, and I know Paige Evans is an acquired taste, but Paige Evans was a really good example of that. That new collection, that Sugar Plum collection she has, if you look at it, those purples jump out in your face and go, why did she put purple in there? It's Christmas, it looks dumb. And then you look at it and you go, but look at that paper with the poinsettias and the little candy canes in between. That paper is amazing. And on the back, it's got a beautiful Christmas plaid. You can't beat that paper. I mean, there are very few papers for Christmas that are that good. But, you know, I didn't look at collections that way before I was buying the pack because when I was designing for Die Cuts with a View, they gave me a stack. When I designed for Echo Park, they gave me the basic gray. It was the collection, and you got used to always wanting that full collection. And with basic gray, you had to have the whole thing. So, you know, that's how we shopped. But I'm not shopping that way now, and I'm really noticing the B-sides because with my photos, the ones that I don't scrap that I really struggle with, the Star Wars, not just that, but Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Animal Kingdom, it's all that red dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the hardest ones, and that's the fall collections, which there are a bunch of fall collections that just hit scrapbooking for less. Last year's collections hit scrapbooking. Yeah, so if you're looking for
that place is great.
Yeah.
The only thing is that there's $8 flat shipping, so you need to order a lot all at once.
Decent amount.
Yeah, otherwise that $8 really kind of doesn't help you along unless you want a bunch of stuff. But I also love how most of the time you're getting 2 sheets